Well, Daniel's Talent Solutions is celebrating 10 years. And one of the things that we wanted to do as we celebrate our 10 years was to talk to some of the people who have helped us, been in community with us along the way. And so this is not just kind of a celebration of 10 years, it's more of who are the people who've helped us get there? What does it look like to build a business, to stay in business? And so today we're talking to Rhonda Broussard. And we're going to talk a little bit about just not only building, but identifying opportunities and kind of what that looks like over time and through longevity. And so Rhonda and I, man, I was looking back to see when did we actually connect. And so it was in 2020.
Yes.
And you at the time and still are CEO of Beloved Community. And there was an opportunity
Yes.
for your organization to grow and you needed help. And so we were connected and we took on kind of the challenge of helping you continue to build in your business. And that kind of turned into not a one-time thing, but 3-year partnership. I was looking at it and it was like from 2020 to about 2023. And I think we've still stayed in, contact and thought partnership together over time. And so, I mean, I could take the whole time talking about your accolades because you are just amazing. You've opened French immersion schools. You're running Beloved, AWA. You dance here in New Orleans. There's so many things that you do. And so I want to kind of focus in on like how we connected and what that looks like. And so I was listening to some podcasts the other day, and T.I., of course, the Atlanta rapper, talked a little bit about how life is full of these opportunity windows.
Yep.
And being able to recognize like when a window is opening, but also when it's closing. And so that's what I really want to talk to you about, because I almost would consider you a serial entrepreneur. I don't know if you consider yourself that or you say futurist, but I want to talk a little bit about that today for our audience. And so thank you for being here.
Yeah,
thank you for being in this space. And we're in Baldwin and Company, and community is really important too. So my first question, an opportunity window.
Yes.
Talk to me a little bit about kind of what that means to you when you think about when that happens and what goes into that.
Yes. I am, like you said, futurist. I'm always in the space of possibility, of creation. And when I think about opportunity, there's so much of preparation that goes into being ready for and being able to even recognize that an opportunity is in front of you. I am never without a 5-year plan. Bless Lil Rhonda's heart. Because that's just how my brain works. I'm always coming up with a strategy, figuring out how to position myself for what I want in my own life. And as a young person, this was true for me. And so when I think about the opportunity window, my very first one happened at 17.
Oh, okay.
And it was outside of any kind of traditional structures. I was away at boarding school. I was understanding that I had a role to play in social justice work and that education was going to be where I started. And I wanted to teach. And I heard about some program somewhere that had high school students teaching.
Okay.
And so I went to my college counselor and told them about this. And this was, in the 90s. So we're like going through like paper files of programs. And she couldn't find whatever I'd heard about. But she found something else. It was called Summer Bridge. That's now called Breakthrough Collaborative. And I applied. I got waitlisted. But I was like, I think this is this path that I want to be on. And it turned into, like, I made other plans for the summer, and then I got a call off the wait list, and got to come to New Orleans and spend the summer between junior and senior year teaching middle school students.
Okay.
And I had pitched, I was teaching English, but I had pitched some elective classes too. This was the first time I'd been somewhere where youth voice was respected. was valued, where youth ideas were a part of like, co-creating, co-solutioning, where we were expected to lead and be accountable for our leadership. And it really cemented for me, one, that this is possible, right?
Yeah.
I had a vision for myself, and no one else in my life understood anything about this vision, but like the early days of manifesting, right? No one else in my life understood this, but I was able to find the opportunity where I could step in and do it. That community, I mean, I learned so much about community engaged research, about building community, about classroom management, about pedagogical practices, and built this network of near peers. So like now, over 30 years later, that network is still very present in my life. I've continued to pull this thread around youth action, youth voice and share power with community members in everything that I've done. And I really trace it back to this one very specific summer opportunity. And I wouldn't, if I hadn't had a vision for how I wanted to show up in the world, I wouldn't have sought it out, and wouldn't have known to recognize it when it showed up. Like it just would look like
Yeah.
something to do for the summer.
I love that. I mean, there are so many threads in everything you just said because you brought it together nicely. Because I was going to say, when I met you, I met you at this intersection of community and building this youth participatory action program
Yeah.
and identifying like community needs. And so for you to say, hey, at 17, that's where it started, and
Yes.
the
Yes.
door and the
Yes.
window at that point was open, and you took it,
Yeah.
is amazing. The piece that you talked about where it was kind of creating this vision for yourself and nobody around you maybe understood it.
Did
That
not.
is that what the entrepreneur journey is, right?
This
Because
continues
it's
to be true.
yeah, I think
Yes.
about, when we started
Mm-hmm.
and I said I'm going to leave
Right.
a 9 to 5, which a lot of people do now.
Mm-hmm.
I had a plan.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I
Mm-hmm.
talk to people, I'm like, I always had a plan. And whether or not it kind of executed as I thought it would was different. But being able to kind of take that chance on what you saw and for yourself at 17 has like evolved.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have language for entrepreneurship at 17, right? Like my plan was to be a teacher. And I wanted to be an amazing teacher and do some really what I thought were radical practices around youth voice and youth power.
Right.
I didn't know about nonprofits. I didn't know any entrepreneurs. And I could see, I mean, I talk about the 5-year plan because that's as far as I could see at any given point in time. And the 5-year plan changes. I mean, it
Absolutely.
changes over and over and over again. But I feel like over these past 30 plus years, what I saw for myself in 5 years, every now and then I would get to the 5 years and it was true. What was most often true was by the 5-year mark, I had already created the vision for the next 5 years, based on what I was learning. So like, I do credit that experience with Summer Bridge, and I taught with them for 4 summers, interned at their national office.
Okay.
So like back in the 90s, looking at work around recruitment and retention for local teachers of color. Like this, it's not far from where
Right,
we met,
Woodward, yeah.
right? But it was something at 21, that was very present for me, because of my own experience teaching in the program. It still, that didn't lead me to, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm just going to be a great teacher. And then I thought, I'm going to teach for 3 years, and then I want to go back to graduate school, and I'm going to be a principal. And period, end scene. That's what I thought my life was going to be. And it wasn't until I was in my 8th year of teaching, I had just had my daughter, and my grandfather was ill and passing here in Louisiana. I was teaching in Queens. He was ill and passing. I was looking at how do we get closer to family now that we're raising kids, and planning either we're moving back to New Orleans or moving to St. Louis, where my first wife is from. Hurricane Katrina happened in that decision point.
Oh, wow.
And I said, well, bless everyone who is running into recovery. I'm not recovery oriented. I'm like, I don't even know there are doctors and hospitals for me to get
Yeah.
maternal infant care. So we went back to St. Louis, where I started the school network, and stumbled into this entrepreneurship journey. I didn't want it. It wasn't in my plan. No,
Really?
it wasn't in my plan at all. I thought, it's like specifically when we were leaving Brooklyn and moving to St. Louis, we looked and said, okay, if we're moving for family, then in St. Louis is a community where you can have a good life on a single income. And so we're both going to apply out for the big jobs, and whoever gets the big job is going to work full time, and the other mom's going to stay home. And my wife got a job at WashU. I'm like, that
Okay.
has all the benefits. It has this long-term network. That's the big job. I'm going to stay home and raise the kids. And then at the same time, I was in New York. We had this group of families who were meeting with us as educators about creating a French immersion public school option within the Department of Education. And I was like, your parents? And you're trying to get a different kind of school for your kids? I didn't know parents could do that. And you're coming to talk to us because we're experts. And I hadn't seen myself as an expert or a possibility maker in a school system or district at all. And then I kind of put those together, and I was like, well, if I'm the parent who has the need, and I am an expert because I work in this system, can I go and impact it? Because if the truth is, if we had left New York and came back to New Orleans in 2005, there are French immersion schools here that my kids would have gone to, and where I would have worked,
Right.
and I would not have created anything. But because we were going to St. Louis, where there wasn't a community for the kids in school, there wasn't a community where I saw my intellectual peers in a secondary, and like, so it was actual real-time need. Like, I need to go create this for my family.
Wow.
Yeah.
Opportunity.
Right?
And it's interesting that you say, hey, I didn't see myself as an expert. So it's just so interesting because the day and time we live in,
Right.
everybody's an expert.
expert.
And you may or may not have like the experience, or, people are just stepping out there and doing things. And even as I think about like our journey with DTS, it has been me thinking about how do I show up as an expert in this. And I am an
You are
expert,
an expert.
and being confident in that.
Yes.
And that's another piece of like the entrepreneur journey of like, here's the opportunity. Am I going to step up to it? And how do I see myself in this moment?
Yes.
Because a lot of people are crippled by fear. And so the moment the opportunity came, the right place being in St. Louis, the right kind of immersion of your experience and the ability to explore.
Right. I had a
Right?
safety,
You
I had
had
a
to-
security.
yeah. And it's also important too. A lot of people ask me all the time,
Yep.
like, what steps did you do? I had to make sure
That's right.
there was a plan.
That's right.
There was some money in the bank before we stepped out.
Correct. Correct.
So we've
And I even
talked.
tell people too, like when they're thinking about it now, like I had this safety in my family life. You can build it right now in your current career. Like, don't just go start your LLC tomorrow and quit the 9 to 5. Like, build up your client base. Take some small projects. Understand, like, here is the runway that you're going to need to find the next client.
Right.
How do you figure out how to make your current job your first client? And like literally, let's get down to the cash flow. I wish someone had shown me the cash flow when I was look, tell me about the cash flow when I was starting the first business, because I didn't know, right? Like I had a
too,
security,
right, yeah. But
now I'm like, no, go ahead and build this cash flow out so you can
Understand
understand, even if you have I'm leaving money, how long is that money gonna last?
Yeah.
And how do you build some of this so that you have the safety and security you need
Yep.
to step out?
So we talked a little bit about kind of these opportunity windows opening, what you saw at 17,
Yeah.
how 30 years later that's still coming to life, and the moments that presented themselves. As a entrepreneur in like 10 years, there have been these moments where the opportunity begins to kind of close. That window closes. And as a business owner, decisions have to be made.
Yep.
So talk to me a little bit about kind of over the course of this time, like what were maybe some of those times where you saw, excuse me, the window closing and needed to, as a entrepreneur, CEO, decide what to do.
Yeah, yeah. I think this is one of the hardest things for me. I think it's hard for me in my personal life and in my professional life, right? Like, I'm like, have I ever left a relationship on my own? Have I ever left a job because I thought my work was done and I was ready to go do something else? And the answer was no, right? Like, there was always some, oh, we're moving, or there's a this, or there's a that. External force, but not I have a sense of completion or I have read the tea leaves and now it's time to move differently. And so it's really something that I've had to train myself as somebody who is constantly thinking about possibility and creativity and future. I've had to train myself around the risk management. I've had to invite risk managers into close relationship with me, and really value, like not just say I value it, but say, look, I need the risk manager to show up right now at the table, and help me understand what I'm not seeing, what I'm not processing. And so for any of my creative, possibility oriented folks, don't be afraid to have the risk manager at your side. I think now it's the first most important role to have on team, like in my complementary cabinet. And I think all of that said, the first signs that we got with Beloved around opportunity window closing were really very clear. We were cultivating this body of work in San Antonio, had an amazing group of community partners who were ready, excited about engaging with us at the school level. And their, at the time, new governor was making very clear threats around critical race theory and what it would mean for schools if they partnered with any organization on professional development that was going to advance critical race theory, advance belongingness, advance community engagement. And again, like with that risk manager hat on, we could hear the call, and we kept trying to be creative, right? Like, are there some creative ways that we can make this work with different funding sources?
Right.
And the answer was no. And so it really did create space for us to do two things. One, to say, how do we prepare for when this happens in Louisiana, because it will happen here. And we got the introduction to it with that work in Texas. And so how do we prepare for it here? And what does it mean about how the work that we do with schools, nonprofits, for-profit businesses start to shift? And so we skilled up in some ways with our team. We reached out to leaders who were in Florida, where they were having some similar concerns at the state level. Like, how did you manage this in Florida, right? Like, what was your role like over time? What could we learn from that? And started to think about that from a policy side, from a supporting practitioner side. And then went into some strategic planning processes to say, okay, this is everything that we know that's coming, everything that we know that's existing in other places that is going to impact us more deeply here.
Yeah.
And how can we design a model that is still true to what we do, and is true to the long arc of Beloved community, right? Like, the thing that I hope my team remembers hearing me say over time was, I didn't create Beloved community to do one program or one thing, right? We developed program in response to what our community needed. And so we can release some of these programs in the same way, and that's not taking us away from our North Star of the Beloved community. We have to figure out a different way to get people there.
I love that. Oh my gosh, so many good things that you just said. I had a kind of follow-up question, because when this happens, right, you see the opportunity window closing.
Yep.
And as a leader, it sounded like we saw it. We did our research. Hey, what's happening in another state? What can we do?
Yep.
There was this desire to be creative and but it's closing. And so at some point, there's a pivot.
Yes.
But you just kind of described a pivot that stayed true to who you are.
Yep.
And so as a leader, sometimes I find myself back and forth between, is this opportunity too far from our mission? Is it too far from our values? Like, we want to stay in business.
Right,
we
right,
we
right,
want to
right.
stay true to, what we got into this for. And so I'd love to hear a little bit about, maybe as the window closed, beloved pivoted, or any other time where you said, okay, I need to pivot, or maybe here's an opportunity, but it's left. It feels left. Maybe
Yeah,
it's not.
yeah, yeah.
And tell me a little bit about how you kind of manage that. Is it a distraction, or is it truly something that could be good for the company?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, at some point we built a rubric, right, around this where our VP of strategy would look at the opportunities and say, how aligned is it? And is this, how are we going to make this decision about an opportunity that's presenting itself to us? And so I would love to say we use that process all the time, and I didn't come up with it. It took us a while,
Good
right?
people,
Yeah,
around you.
yes,
Look,
that's right.
listen,
That's the
you got to
point.
have smart people around
That's
you.
the point. And right, like at the time, she had the most risk manager profile, and so we would keep
Yeah.
putting out. I'm like, okay, Leslie, we need risk manager Leslie to show up right now
Yeah.
and assess this. And so that was a helpful practice that the team could do without me. One of the things that, like, we created lots of different programming over the years, and one of the things that happened for us really early on was developing the tools that eventually became the AWA software.
Okay.
And I had, like, one of our first schools clients, we were building a completely custom assessment for them and their leadership team. And then we were working with a different schools client who had different needs, different concerns. And I was like, oh, let me take this thing that I built for them and we can tweak it and customize it for this population and these particular concerns and these needs. And then we took it to a public art commission in a different city. So a nonprofit, not a school, not student and family audience,
lens.
completely
Yep.
different lens, completely customized it for them. Like, so much so that they put it in their 5-year strategic plan. Like, these are our metrics, this is our North Star. And in that process, I was like, oh, hold on a minute. There is some opportunity here, and it's not what we set out to do. But let me go back to community. Let me go and learn. Okay, folks who sit in different seats in an equity space. What are you using? Would there be a utility for a tool that you could use with any of your clients? And what would you need it to do?
Yeah.
And that's really like the start of how we started building out the very first tools, and then created the tool suite, and then eventually got to creating a software. Not on my bingo card at all. Like every year I set for myself a little learning agenda. Like, what I need to learn just for this year. And so it was a helpful, like, when I think back on it, it was a helpful way for us to see, here's an opportunity with our clients. We then have to figure out, is there a market demand for this that makes it important for us to invest more of our time and energy and resource into the thing. And I think those are the two parts of the assessment, right? Like, do we see the need now, and is the need bigger than us and bigger than these folks? And eventually those criteria and our theory of change got built into that rubric, where then any team could look at it and say, this opportunity isn't aligned. One of the things that we were really good at in the first years of Beloved was come back later, right? People would call, like, particularly in that 2020 post-George Floyd moment, people would call in crisis.
Yeah.
And they needed some support immediately, and some for us, it felt like either they needed crisis communications or they needed crisis HR mediation. We don't do those two things. And so we were able to look and say, okay, here's what we do. We have great empathy for what you're experiencing right now. Here are some people we can recommend you to for crisis comms and HR mediation. And when you're ready to build something, come back to us and we'll help you build the thing.
Yeah.
And so we spent a lot of time in that kind of negotiation with folks, and it worked, right? We had lots of clients who came back to us after they had managed their crisis to say, okay, I talked to the board, we're ready for something new, let's go deeper. And then that's when we could
Yeah.
say, this is what we do.
Yeah. I mean, in that, there's so much. There's the rubric that keeps you true.
Yes.
We've recently, I mean, in the last couple of years, created like our lead generation rubric that took it off of me,
Yes.
Yanika, to say, hey, this is the type of work we're going to go after. And he spread it to the team.
That's right.
To say, hey, team, here's kind of, you all tell me.
Yep.
And
Yep.
then I'll have the final say, but
Yep.
like, let's share
Yes.
the decision
Yes.
and the conversation around it.
And they can then recognize opportunity on their own, right?
yep.
So like the whole concept of opportunity generation, like, oh, this is a clear opportunity for us because it meets these criteria.
Absolutely. The other part that you said was almost this clarity around sometimes we're afraid to turn away work.
Ooh.
Because it's like, here's the money right here.
Correct.
Can't you just learn how to do this for
Correct.
me? And it's like, that's not my bread and butter.
Yes.
And I have learned when I deviate into a field or area that is too far, it becomes stressful.
Yes.
Because it's not our bread and butter. And so I also heard you saying not being afraid to say no to the work and clarifying for the client, this is actually what we do.
That's right.
And then I heard you say people came back.
Yes.
And so I think sometimes as entrepreneurs, as builders, we are afraid sometimes to say no because, you know, whether it's true or not, in the back of our head, it's like, hey, this money.
Right. We have real bills to pay.
We have bills to pay and it's walking away. So things to just kind of keep in mind that help you stay true to, yeah, we pivoted. But we use tools and data to do it. And then we had to go back to see, okay, is this about community? Is this kind of some of the things that we need to do? So I love that. I want to, I could talk to you all day long. But I'm curious, like, as we kind of wrap up, what you think the opportunity kind of is now.
Yeah.
Right. And so we're in a very interesting age. We don't have to talk all about it, but we know this is a different climate that we're in right now. And we have leaders who are kind of riding the wave. We have organizations, friends that have had to pivot. And so as you just think about your career and kind of where we are right now, what opportunity is present and what would you leave for that entrepreneur or that leader who like is kind of in this space right now where they may have to do something different?
Yeah. I mean, this weighs on me all the time because
Yeah.
there's like how I'm leading into this next phase of my career and what do I think is happening and becoming true for folks who are still building career in a different way. And I just go back to the people, right? Our first core value at Beloved is people change systems. We see the institutions crumbling. We see the systems changing at an alarming rate. And I think any solution that folks can come up with that is still about centering people, caring for people in this particular transition is something that they should lean more into because we're still going to be people on the other side. And when it's time to build whatever the new systems are, and this has been one of our mantras forever, we are builders, right? What is it that we're going to build when this system completely goes away? And how do you keep your understanding of your community at the fore so that you can build to help them withstand, persist, and thrive in whatever new systems are coming?
I love that. Like the people aspect is why I'm in this work, right? Why you're in this work, community, people, and staying true to that, true to that. Rhonda, I could talk to you all day. And I don't want to, I skipped in your intro that you wrote a book.
That's fine.
It is out there. One Good Question, an amazing book. Tell us a little bit about it, just quickly.
One Good Question, How Countries Prepare Youth to Lead. I mean, tacks all the way back to the 17-year-old Rhonda, tacks back to 9-year-old Rhonda. Really the book itself is a series of conversations with leaders, 40 leaders in 11 different countries about how they experience their country's investment in youth leadership, and what they need to be different and what they see on the horizon. I think it's a conversation we could start having all over again today.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
what's happening in our schools, what's happening in our youth development programs, all over this country and all over the globe, right? As Americans, sometimes it's helpful for us to pick our heads up and see, oh, this is how y'all are struggling with a similar question in Bangladesh. This is how you're struggling with a similar question in Vietnam. This is how you're struggling with a similar question in France, and understand what other solutions people are coming to from their local context that could be helpful for us, and opportunities for us to understand what we're doing with our young people, that we could be pushing systems on a lot harder
Yeah.
than we're doing right now. So one good question kind of invites everyone into that inquiry.
Great book. I'm so grateful for your time today because I know you are busy and appreciative of all the gems that you dropped today. And also just appreciative of you saying yes, right? Because we wouldn't be at 10 years without people saying yes to us. Yes, that we trust you to help us find a solution or to partner with us. And so I'm grateful and I just appreciate your time today. So thank you.
Thank you. I mean, Yanika, I don't know how we would have built Beloved without you, right? Like there is a true partnership in us being able to say, here's the big vision, here is how we think we're going to get there. And as an entrepreneur, I have 3 jobs: set the vision, raise the capital, hire amazing talent, and let them go run. And
Yeah.
so you made that possible for us.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
All right.
It's my pleasure.